Okay, so I am back and I'm talking about, if you didn't see the last video, um, just covering a little bit of controversies around caring for curly hair. um, so I'm trying to see if I can think of another C. Way too many alliterations. But anyway, so, uh, specifically today, I'll talk about protective styles. So, there are lots of thoughts and ideas and opinions about protective styles and what protective styles you should or should not use. So, I am going to talk about why you should use protective styles periodically, and then some of the concerns you might want to think about when employing certain protective styles or installing certain protective styles. But obviously, again, I'm not here to tell you which ones to use or to do, just giving you some things to think about. So, first off, why? And I'm going to try to make this video as short as possible. Why? So, when you think of our hair, think about like your scalp is sort of like the ground or the roots, where the roots are, and then the hair strands are the branches or where the fruit would be. Don't mind my nails. I painted them, but I haven't cleaned them. So the root needs to be healthy. Healthy roots create healthy strands and healthy ends, right? And so your hair care is really strange enough, like the healthier you are, if you're eating healthy foods, if you're hydrating all of the time, if you're exercising and getting enough sleep, it does affect your hair and how your hair grows. And so out of your scalp, your hair will get nutrients. For straight hair, that natural oil that's coming from your scalp, it just easily and very naturally goes all the way down to your strands and to your ends, right? Which is why you find that the straighter your hair is, the quicker it gets oily and the more you feel like you need to wash it as often. Versus curly hair, so the curlier the hair is, every curl is an opportunity for that natural oil to get stuck. So you'll find our ends, which are the oldest parts of our hair, our ends tend to become very dry and brittle and split quickly because the natural oils are not, they're having a more difficult time getting all the way down to the ends from the roots. The other thing too is every point in the curl is another point in which the hair can break. I'm not talking about shedding, I'm talking about actual breaking. So that's why it's super important to try to keep your hair detangled and moisturize, not necessarily always with product. Water is a natural building block of life. So water, um, um, to keep your hair moisturized and detangled. Yeah, so that will help. So protective styles, what protective styles do is they enable you to just kind of give your hair a break so that you're not manipulating it all the time, leading to more breakage. And you're protecting it, so you're protecting it from the dry air or the heat or the sun or whatever's happening in the air, whatever's happening in your world. You're protecting it from all of those things, and you're keeping it in a space where it is remaining moisturized and being fed. Let's put it that way. And you're giving it the opportunity to grow unbothered, right? Okay, so that's why you would do a protective style. Now, what are protective styles? There's different kinds, but the things to look out for. So a protective style has to do certain things. One, it has to protect. So a lot of people will say they're doing a protective style, right? But then they're leaving parts of their hair out. So just consider that whatever part is left out is not protected. So it is not a fully protected style, okay? It's that part is still being exposed to everyday manipulation, to the heat, to the sun, to whatever. So that part is not protected, just as long as you know that. The other thing too, if you're doing a protective style where you have your hair in twist or whatever, that's fine, but your ends are still exposed, right? So just consider oldest part of your hair. Nutrients have a hard time getting to it. So it's not 100% protected either because your ends are still exposed, right? So just think about those things. I'm not saying that it's bad, but just kind of consider that. So first thing must be protected. The second thing, you have to have the opportunity to get to your roots, right? So remember I said the healthy roots create healthy hair. So if you have your hair in a protected style but you have zero access to your roots, you can't add healthy oils, or you can't manipulate or massage it or anything like that for a whole month or more. That's not helping. So just kind of think about that when you're doing a style. Like, do you have a style where you can take it out at night or something and just massage your scalp, but leaving the whole thing in place, or whatever? Do you have the opportunity to be able to do that? Do you have a bottle that you can spray or something like that to get to your actual roots, to make sure that you're always stimulating your roots so that it's always remaining healthy, so that your hair is growing healthy? And then the third thing, it has to be non-damaging. So whatever style you employ, consider that it is not damaging your hair. So if the braids are too tight, like, girl, if you have a headache from the braids, that's not a protected style. You are putting way too much tension on your hair, and you're causing it to break even more. Remember, I said every curl is an opportunity for it to break, so it's already fragile, and now you're putting a ton of tension on it with super tight braids. Don't do it. There's nothing wrong with braids per se, but just make sure that your braids are not ridiculously tight and you're not putting too much tension in your hair. And whatever it might be, like maybe it's a top knot like I have right now or whatever, just make sure that it's not too tight and it's not pulling your hair too much. The other thing, this is, like, again, a matter of preference, but a lot of people do wigs for protective styles. I used to wear wigs, and I just wore like full body, just full wigs. I've never done the lace front wigs, mainly because I just always kind of been mindful about protecting my edges so that they don't thin out. So when people do lace front wigs or something, they'll use a lot of glue or products, and when you take that out over and over and over again, your edges will start to thin, and you'll start to lose all the hair up here. So again, that's damaging to your edges. There's nothing wrong with wigs per se, but just consider how often you do that, and then that you're just very mindful not to thin out your edges when you do that. And then actual braids, again, think about, so a braid, what you're doing is you're taking weave and you're adding weave to your hair. Remember, I talked about your hair is already fragile, right? So you're adding double, triple its weight, which is weighing it down. Just be mindful that is weight and tension that you're adding to each strand. I'm not saying not to do it. I've done braids, especially in the summertime. Sometimes you just can't be bothered. But just make sure they're not too tight, and make sure that they're not too heavy. If it's too heavy, it's pulling the strand, and then it's pulling like your actual hair out of your scalp or in your head. Like, don't do that. And then don't leave them in too long either. Because then you just get matted in the roots, and then you spend a ton of time detangling it and losing a ton of hair that you just grew. So those are just kind of things to think about when you are doing protective styles. Now, I'm not saying not to do certain styles. Again, I'm just telling you things to think about when you go to the salon, when you bring your child to the salon or a friend or whatever to do their hair. Just make sure to say, you know what, if I want it in a braid, but I want the braids to go this way down the front instead of going straight back, because this is protecting the edges versus going straight back, which is pulling and tightening the edges. Like, just think about things like that and ask those kinds of questions, ways to protect every part of the hair while it's in a protective style. All right, so just real quickly, this is a protective style that I have right now. This is not employing all of the things I just talked about. It is pulling my hair back. Now I don't have anything weighing it, so it's just my own hair. And I also don't have it tight. So that's number two. And then number three, I take it out every night, but I don't manipulate my hair. So I'll show you what I do. And this is considered protective because my ends are all protected. So I have not had them exposed. I've not manipulated them. I've not done anything to them. I've not detangled them or anything. I've kept them together in this super chunk for a week and a half now. And I'll take one out. See, it's very easy to pull out. So I'll take it out to show you. So this is what it looks like. It's just a big giant 2-strand twist. And halfway through the time that I had it, I took it out, sprayed it with some moisture, twisted it right back up. Didn't detangle, didn't anything, just took it out, sprayed it, twisted it right back up, and then tucked it right back in. Yep, and that's just kind of how I kept it for almost 2 weeks. It hasn't been a full 2 weeks, but it's definitely over a week and a half. So that's kind of how I kept it. And then I actually do not have it in a scrunchie or anything simply because I didn't want to pull it too tight. So it's just secret. This is just a stocking leg that I cut. It was an old stocking leg, and the other leg had ripped, so I cut it, washed it, and I just use it. So I take this out at night because I don't want to sleep with anything that's like pulling tension in my hair, so it's loose and it's free. At night, I put on my satin cap, I go to bed, I wake up in the morning, and wet my fingers, wet my hands, and I do this. I put it's really easy. Remember I said our hair is thirsty and needs moisture. If it's really bad, I might brush it, but other than that, that's it. And I tuck in the ends, and I'm good for the day. So this, I mean, this is for me is a protective style, but I have been pulling on my edges all week during the day. So I'm taking this out today, and I'm just gonna wash my hair and do something else with it, but I wanted to spend some time and not do it. So yeah, so that's that. And you don't want to do protective styles all the time either, especially if you're doing weave. You want to give your hair some time, right? You want to give it a break. So it's great to have them, but you don't want to do them all the time. Okay, so I hope that helped answer some questions about protective styles and some of the things to look for when you think about protective styles. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know, and feel free to share this video. I know a number of you wanted to do that, so I tried to make them shareable. So feel free to do that. And yeah, all right, bye.